Good evening, guys. How are you doing tonight?
Great.
I actually want to speak to you guys about a few minutes tonight and inform you guys a little bit about my hometown, which is called Halifax, Nova Scotia. It's in Canada. I'm actually from Canada. But first, I want to tell you a little bit of a story. It begins like this. December 6th, the year 1917, it was a cold winter morning. Spencer rolled out of bed just like any other morning. Not knowing what time it was, he looked at his alarm clock, only to see that he was late for school. But little did Spencer know that morning, being late would be the least of his worries. As Spencer rushed into his first period class, he opened the door to find something that was a little bit unusual. He saw not kids sitting down and learning. Rather, he saw a classroom full of commotion and chattering. So quickly, Spencer tried to figure out what was going on. He wasn't sure what was going on. He overheard something about 2 ships being caught on fire in the harbor just a little bit down from their school. So just as Spencer begins trying to find out more about what's going on, suddenly a huge bang happened all throughout the classroom as the windows shattered. Everybody was left disoriented. And as Spencer rose, he looked out to see his city in ruins. Now, I'm sure you're wondering what that bang was that morning, but I do want to share with you guys that this is actually a true story of what I'm about to share with you guys. That story that I just said was true. It's actually a story based on the true event called the Halifax Explosion, which took place in my hometown. Now, I want to inform you guys what the Halifax Explosion is. It's actually the second largest man-made explosion in the history of the world. Second to the explosion that happened in the bombings in Japan. Now, basically how this happened was, at the time, Halifax was a city who was supplying major ammunitions for the Second World War. They have a huge harbor, 2 sides, there's 2 bridges, and ships come in and out loading up different supplies. And at the time, there was 2 ships. One was called the SS Mont Blanc and the SS Emo. Now, what happened was the SS Mont Blanc was carrying an estimated of 3 kilotons of TNT, all explosives used for the war.
Yeah.
Now, they're not sure how it happened, and there's still an investigation to this day of wondering how exactly it's possible that 2 huge ships didn't see each other and collided into each other. But basically what happened was they collided into each other, and a fire started in this one ship, and the workers didn't have the appropriate tools at the time. They didn't have the tools to put out the fire. So basically they just had to abandon ship. And all along this time, people are just gathered around the harbor watching, oh, look at these 2 ships going up in flame, not knowing that they were seconds away from witnessing the biggest explosion, second largest explosion, in the history of the world. Now, some facts about this explosion. About 2,000 people died from debris, fires, and collapsed buildings, and about 9,000 people were left injured. A pressure wave of air snapped trees, bent iron rails, demolished buildings, grounded vessels, and carried fragments of the Mont Blanc, which is the ship, for kilometers. Now, kilometers is you could say for miles, I guess. I'm from Canada, so I guess kilometers. But hardly a window in the city properly survived this collision. It's actually said to be that the city of Truro, which is 45 minutes north of Halifax, they actually felt the windows shake when the explosion went off. That's like probably from here to Boca. So that's just to give you an idea of how large the explosion is. The cloud, or the explosion that raised in the air, was actually 300 feet high in the air. Now, obviously, when this explosion happened, rescue crews and everybody were trying as hard as they could to rescue people from under the debris. Buildings collapsed everywhere, but every emergency unit in the city was down. All the power was out. Everything was out. So you can imagine how hard it would be to be contacting people. But from outside cities, they sent people in to rescue people. And actually, Boston actually sent a lot of people up with food supplies and everything to help the people. And actually, to this day, Halifax sends a Christmas tree down to them every Christmas for them to put up in the middle of their city as a thank you every year for doing what they did. The Halifax explosion, one of the most terrifying things about it was actually not even the explosion itself, but was actually what happened the day following the explosion. Many people were probably still left surviving under under debris trying to get out. But actually what happened was one of the largest snowstorms in history happened the very next day. Wow. So as rescue crews and trains and everybody's trying to get people out of the debris and to help them and to get them to the hospitals outside of the city, a snowstorm actually happened which stopped every emergency unit who could responding. Trains couldn't get through the snow. Rescue units couldn't get through the snow. And so now you have all these people who are trying to help the people with no shelter, no heat, no water, no electricity, no nothing. Mm-hmm. And now this snowstorm happens. So basically it said that any of the remaining people who were left surviving died in that snowstorm. So that's just a little bit of history and information for you guys to receive from my home city, which is Halifax. And I hope you guys enjoyed that today.
Thank you.